Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jagrata, Jai Masters. Deep spiritual states, by definition, transcend the mind. But the mind can be very, very helpful in leading to the edge of that state. When the mind understands deep enough that it can't go there, but it's inspired to explore, the mind is very, very helpful. The mind can help you get there, but it can't go across. What's the difference between a mind that is blocking your spiritual growth and a mind that is helping your spiritual growth? So let's take what I consider to be a very, very, very deep example of what the mind can understand about enlightenment, about liberation, about freedom. Your consciousness, I'm not going to get into where it comes from yet or anything like that, but you're a conscious being and you have the ability to do what's called concentrate. Concentrate, like concentrated orange juice, okay? It's the orange juice pulled into a very tight space. It is concentrated consciousness. That's what concentrating is. Concentrated consciousness. You have the ability right now, you don't have to turn your head, just look in front of you. You see a lot. You don't see a lot, but you see a lot, okay? So you're seeing a broad spectrum of what's in front of you. Do you have the ability to hold up your hand and stare at your hand? Try to focus on every little bit, a part of your hand, the lines that are in it, everything like that. Could you do that theoretically, deep enough concentration that it's all that you see? You don't see anything else. Even if you just mess with it, it's pretty much all you see, rather than seeing everything. So consciousness can concentrate down to a focal point, very much like when you buy a light bulb, a floodlight, it has degrees. You've seen that, right? 30 degree, 15 degree. So if you buy a broad beam, it shines in a big space. If you buy a narrow beam, it focuses. It's the same light, same electricity. It's just set to focus. Well, you have the ability to do that with your consciousness. You can focus your consciousness. When you focus your consciousness, that's all you see. Why? Because you're conscious. You are consciousness. The only thing you take in is what you're experiencing. So that's the only thing you're experiencing. You can do it with music. You're so lost in sound and music that you don't hear anything else. That's all that's going on. You can do that with taste. You're there in a party and there's everything, and all of a sudden you put something in your mouth, it's just so delicious, the world goes away. That's because your consciousness, which is what you are, consciousness, the end user of this whole thing, is able to focus its consciousness, focus its consciousness on either a small object or a broad spectrum. If you understand that, and that's not beyond your comprehension, it's something you do every day, you understand a lot about spirituality and a lot about enlightenment and a lot more than you think about the entire spiritual path from beginning to end. Okay? What if you practice this consciousness stuff, concentrating consciousness, to a very narrow beam throughout your life? Will you have experienced as much as you experienced so far? The answer is, of course not. If psychology says that man is a sum of his learned experiences, your learned experiences got very, very narrow. If you were in a group of people, you only saw one, or maybe you only saw their nose, then that's the sum of your learned experiences. That's what you have inside your mind, is just those experiences. Will you be a different person? Will you think differently? Will you have different opinions? Don't ignore this. I'm telling you, this is as deep as anything you will ever hear. So obviously, if your consciousness is focused on a very little amount, then that's your life. That's all you saw. That's all you learned. That's all there is. If it's expanded, it just naturally expands. Why? Because you cease to contract it. Who's focusing your consciousness down at a point? You are. You have the right. You have free will. You have the right to focus your consciousness or not focus your consciousness. Okay? If I took your mind that was made up, because your whole personal mind will be made up of what you focused on throughout your life, it would be very small. Your ego would be very small. It'd be all about one person, or all about a nose, or all about whatever you were concentrated on. That is the only thing that's in there. Please understand that. It's not like, oh no, I'm playing around. No, you're not playing around. I'm a computer guy. That's your data. That's the only data you took in. Therefore, that is what your mind is doing, your personal mind. Okay? Is your mind capable of more? Of course. If you didn't narrow it, it would have taken more in. If I could just teach you this, I did my job. You have built a personal mind. What's a personal mind? The part of the mind that knows what you know. Is there a bigger mind? Yes, it's infinite. The mind can do anything. The mind can think of the galaxies. The mind can think but you don't know anything about galaxies if you're only focused on noses. So the potential for mind is extremely large, isn't it? But you have the ability to build what we call a personal mind. A subset of mind is the ego mind. That is the stuff that you took in and held on to and built this model of life. Life is about one person at a time. The life is about the nose, life, whatever it is, okay? That's what your ego, what your self-concept is, your entire concept of who you are. I'm the person that met this person. I'm the person that went to this festival or had this or that because I didn't see anything else. I only saw that. Therefore, your self-concept, your personal mind is going to be built out of the things that you saw, that you experienced. Have I gone too fast, too far? All right. Now, look how small that is. It's not your mind. That's why we make the distinction. Mind is just infinite ability, infinite awareness. It can go anywhere. It can do anything. Your mind can do that. But your personal mind can't do that because you focused it on these tiny objects and you built this thing. Well, why would you want to do that? I don't want to do that. I'd rather experience what you guys experience. I'd rather see it all, or at least as much as I'm able to see, which isn't very much, by the way. You know, what's going on outside or down in Gainesville or over in Afghanistan. Or okay, you only take in a little bit. Oh, I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, right? So yes, you didn't just take in what the one thing you focused on, but you did just take in the few things you focused on. Is it a lot that you focused on? I say that all the time. Some people say, I don't want to miss anything. How much are you missing right now? 99.999999999 raised to 99999 power of what's going on. And that's on the planet Earth. What about everybody else? You've done what I just said. You didn't do it by just one person focusing, but your consciousness focused on what you took in. It focused on what you took in every moment, which was nothing. In other words, you know nothing. If you were just focusing on the little nose that you saw, you would say, that person knows nothing about life. You're focusing on this little bit that your senses take in, which is absolutely nothing compared to what there is. There was a word for it, statistically insignificant. And you built your entire life and your self-concept and your personal mind based on that, just the same as that person did who was focusing down to a tiny little bit. That is your ego mind. That is your personal mind. That is why psychology says man is the sum of his learned experiences. It's not true. Your consciousness is who you are, but you are focused on the sum of your learned experiences. If you weren't focused on the sum of your learned experiences, you would be enlightened. If you were not staring at that tiny little model that you built inside your mind that says, I'm so-and-so's wife, I'm so-and-so's husband, I'm the person who played Dorothy in the 5th grade, I'm the one that got in a car accident when I was little, I'm the one that fell out of the tree, I'm the one that had this from my mother, I'm the one that didn't like my father. In other words, I am the experiences I had. You're not. Those are the experiences you held on to and built in your mind this subset, which is tiny, of what's going on, and you're staring at it just the same as I had you stare at the nose or at the tiny focus. What's the difference? I'm staring at you. I'm seeing the whole thing. I'm seeing the whole thing. That's why they say at the moment of enlightenment, the moment of Satori in the Buddhist sense, they laugh. That would be like if all I saw was this tiny little thing, and then all of a sudden I stopped staring at that and I saw this. You are enlightened. It became much lighter. Light. Did I expand? And then we're talking about expansion of consciousness. I will never do that again. In the 60s, we talk about expanding consciousness. No, you're not expanding your consciousness. You're ceasing to contract it. That's a vast difference. It's not like I've contracted my consciousness. How do I expand it? You'll probably get hernia. You keep struggling and stretching. I want to expand my consciousness. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll read more books. How many books are there? What are there other than books? And you're not going to get anything. You're not any better. I don't care how many places you go. I visited 20 countries. Big deal. What about Mars and Jupiter and all the countries you didn't go to? Nothing you're going to do called expanding my consciousness is doing a thing compared to what's actually going on. So you have to learn to cease to focus your consciousness, contract your consciousness down to you, because you are a very, very small part of what's going on. Like there are what, 8.3 billion of you running around right now? Here's your probability. Like I know the lottery has very bad probability of winning, right? But it's not 1 in 8.3 billion. I'll tell you right now, there ain't no one playing lottery, but the chance is 1 of 8.3 billion. That's what you are. That's not who you are, but that's who you're busy being. I have collected the experiences, my consciousness has collected the experiences that had not even, by the way, you didn't even collect all your experiences. You didn't collect every white line you drove by and every cloud you ever looked at, did you? No, you collected the most strong experience that you had, the ones that bothered you the most and the ones that you liked the most. I want to bet that's what your ego is made out of. It's not the sum of your learned experiences, some of your held on to experiences. So if something really made a big impression on you, which we'll talk about why that's different, but it made an impression on you, you kept it. If you were little and took your blanket away too soon, Freud says, oh, you had all this stuff going on. So if it bothers you, or if you really liked it, you either suppressed it or clung to it. You either held on to it with your will. What is will? What is will? I got this beef. I really, you know that. I love quantum physics. I love the physicists. To me, there are priests nowadays, right? Well, I'm not going to do it this time, but they're way down there. Take my word for it. They said there's 4 forces, 4, that built the entire universe. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, and the weak nuclear force. And that's what they are. Just because, you all know what electromagnetism is, you deal with stuff, electricity and magnets. You know what gravity is, you deal with it, right? The strong nuclear force sounds really complicated. You better be a quantum physicist. No. Have you noticed that when you were taught about the nucleus of an atom, that there were neutrons, which were neutral in charge, and there were protons that were positive in charge? What happens if I take 2 ends of a magnet, try to push them together, if they're both positive ends? They repel. Well, how come that nucleus is not falling apart? Because there's a bunch of positive stuff in there. How in the world is it being held together into this tiny little space? Oh, there must be a force stronger than magnetism, plus minus this electromagnetism, must be a force stronger than magnetism that overcomes the repulsiveness of positive. Let's call it the strong nuclear force. That is what the strong nuclear force is. The force that must exist in order to hold the positives together. Pretty neat, all right? What's the weak nuclear force? Well, sometimes they don't hold together. In radioactive material, they kind of fall apart, don't they? All right, well, there must be another force that's causing that to happen. There you go. Gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear, weak nuclear, and they will die on the standard model of particle physics or physics that those are the forces. Those are the forces. Well, they came up with the Higgs boson, but let's not talk about that. It's not anything of great importance. All right. Now, I want to ask them, you're the physicist. You've isolated down to these forces. Here is a glass. It's sitting right there. See it? No matter if you see it or not. Sitting right there. Okay? It now has moved. For something to do that requires a force. Did magnetism move that? Did gravity move that? Gravity stopped it from moving. I had to overcome gravity, didn't I? Was the strong nuclear force that holds the nucleus of an atom together cause that to move? The weak nuclear force? There must be another force called will. Yes or no? Can you overcome gravity? Of course you do. You jump up in the air. You just overcame gravity. I picked the glass up. I overcame gravity. Can you overcome magnetism? Can you sit there and push magnets together and hold them so they don't go flying apart? You have the ability to overcome these things. Strong nuclear, weak nuclear. When they do this Large Hadron Collider over there in CERN, they hit protons against protons, these tiny little things, and they bombard them and they fall apart. So we have the ability to overcome these forces, to deal with these forces. But none of that explains how that glass moved. How do they ignore that? Well, it's not a physiological force. No, it's not. It's a spiritual force. Believe it or not, it's a force that came from inside of me. Well, that's because you ate food and it gave you energy. Who directed that energy to make that happen? So don't you dare let them tell you don't have free will. You use it every moment. Here, if I do that, I just use free will to overcome the force of gravity and everything else. So there is another force called will. What is that? When you meditate deep enough, when you spend enough time in there, not out here, in there, paying attention, not just meditating, even every day as you work through life, you watch, you notice, you will see that this force of will is concentrated consciousness. If you don't concentrate, if you go deep in meditation, you're not applying will and nothing's happening out here. And we still have it on the inside, but it ain't happening out here. But when you concentrate your energy, your consciousness and energy are the same thing. In the ancient Upanishads, the ancient yogis called it Chit Shakti. Chit Shakti, conscious energy. That's from thousands of years ago. How? I guess they knew. They're in there. So when you focus consciousness, you're also focusing energy. Chit Shakti. Sometimes they write that as one word, Chit Shakti. Just like not so long ago, 100 years ago, whatever it was, we thought that magnetism and electricity were different forces. And then they found out they were the same force. Now it's called electromagnetism, the electromagnetic spectrum. They are the same force, just looked at from different angles. Consciousness and energy are the same force. When, well, let the cat fully out of the bed. You know what else they call Chit Shakti? God. That's another name for God in the yoga tradition, Chit Shakti. Unconcentrated, expansive, how expansive, infinite and eternal energy is God. And it's Chit Shakti. But it can concentrate. And guess what you are? That force concentrated on your thoughts, your emotions, your body, the whole God of the universe is focusing on yours, on yours, on yours, and yours, and that's what's going on. And that force, because it's concentrated consciousness, is concentrated energy, which is will. If you want to think and hold multiply 243 times 12, if you try to do that, you're going to concentrate, and you're going to feel it wear you out. Can you get tired from concentrating? You're expending energy. Can you have trouble concentrating? Can you see it in your mind and it goes away? You have to try harder. You have to assert your will, which is the same thing as focusing your consciousness. So you have this consciousness and you focus it, you're focusing will. That's what happened when I moved that glass. That's the energy that moved that glass. Now, yes, my body had energy. Yes, the muscles have energy. Yes, I expended energy. I know all this physiological stuff, but it didn't do it by itself. There had to be intent. There had to be volition. There had to be will. So all of a sudden, spirituality merges with physics, except they won't look at that. I can't measure it, so it's not there. You don't want to ask them, how did I move the glass? That's something else altogether. Go talk to psychology. So basically, that is what it is. When consciousness focuses, along with the focus of awareness, there is a concentration of energy, which is will. And that's what's making this all happen. Basically, if you focus your consciousness on something small, you feel you're small. because that's all you've experienced. If you focus your consciousness on something bigger, you feel you're bigger. If you don't focus your consciousness at all, you're enlightened. It ceases to contract itself. It expands. I don't want to call it expands. It ceases to contract. Do you see the difference? That's what happens. When you go deep enough in meditation, you start to feel it letting go. And the ones that can really go deep, gone. Bye-bye. So when I'm honored to say the dear friend who has the ability to do that at will, it's an amazing thing to see. And I've seen him do it many times. He used to do it a lot. Doesn't do it now. He does it himself, but he doesn't do it in public, right? But I'd watch. He'd be sitting there, does asanas. So he's doing some asanas and he's there and he's doing this. I once took him, I did prison work for 30 years. And I used to, if he'd come by to visit, I used to take him into prison with me. And there'd be, 20, 30 guys with maximum security prison in there for life. But they were into the teachings. I'd bring this beautiful being in and he would ask, would you like to see me do some asanas? And he would start doing some asanas. And I could see it. He'd be there. Little by little, the energy would get funny in the room. And then all of a sudden, gone. He's gone. Just melted into the universe, melted beyond himself. And everybody felt it. He would sit there afterwards and ask, please share your experience. And we would say, I just saw this blinding light. So that's who you are. Do you understand that? That's who you are. There's no difference between that person or an enlightened master or Buddha or Christ and you. There's no difference except you're concentrating on you and they weren't concentrating on them. When Christ said you must die to be reborn, you now have a foundation for understanding that. You must stop focusing on you, this thing you made in there. And by ceasing to do that, you're reborn in spirit. Okay, so all of a sudden, all his teachings, all the master's teachings make much more sense when you understand what's happening. What's happening is you are the divine consciousness focusing on this thing you built inside your mind. Call me. I, me, mine. This is mine. Don't touch that. I like that. I don't like what you did. So why would you do such a thing? Because there's another name for God in the yoga tradition. Satchidananda. Satchidananda. Eternal conscious ecstasy. Anybody want some of that? There's no drugs, just eternal conscious ecstasy. What that means, it's going on all the time. It's the only thing, that's what Buddha called nirvana. Eternal conscious ecstasy is nirvana. It's the state that the great ones went into. You are in that state right now, period. But you're busy looking away from it at the junk you built in your mind. I'd rather look at this mess that I made inside instead of experience who I am. That's called self-realization. That's called enlightenment. That's called liberation. You call it whatever you want. Jivan mukta, a liberated soul. Do you understand? I've never talked to you this strong about, that's why I said, mind can help you. If your mind can understand, I gave you good examples, didn't I? They're things you can understand. They're not spiritual mumbo jumbo. You can become inspired to make a meaningful thing of your life, which is stop focusing on stupid old you. Because it's not so much fun, is it? All right? What is suffering? When the world you're looking at doesn't match what you want. You don't suffer when it does match, do you? But if you have something inside your mind that you made, which you built out of your past experiences, which are nothing, and you feel serious about it, so you're totally addicted to watching it. It's so important to you. It's the beginning and end of who I am. I want that car. I want that job. I want that person. I want that baby. It's who I am. It's the meaning of my life. Then you are completely concentrating on that. And the world comes in. If it doesn't match that, how you doing? It depends on how serious you were about wanting it or how serious you were about not wanting it. I don't ever want to see a snake. I got so scared when I was little. I don't ever want to see a snake, so I don't walk in the woods. I don't go places. I don't go to the zoo because there's snakes in the aquariums. Could you be like that? Why? Because you're focused on that completely. And even the thought of it freaks you out. You suffer when the world or your thoughts don't match what you want or do match what you don't want. That's what you're doing in there. And instead of realizing, which I now have encouraged your mind to do, wait a minute. The consciousness that's looking down at this thing here is God, is ecstasy. What did Christ mean? My Father and I are one. In other words, your consciousness is the consciousness. They all taught that. All the great mantras, right? They're in Sanskrit, so we don't use them. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma. Shivoham, I'm Shiva. Tattvamasi, that thou art. Soham, I am he. Those are what the masters taught to their disciples. You understand that? Say who you are. Stop with this staring, wasting this beautiful conscious energy that's will, that's ecstasy, and focusing it on this tiny thing you built inside your mind. That's not your mind. It's a subset of your mind. It's like a computer program. The computer can run everything, can't it? It can run lots of things. You have lots of programs. You can go lots of places, do lots of things. Run a program inside the computer that is so addicting to you that you can't not run it. I can give you examples, but I won't. You know what some of them are, and you just end up all the time just looking at that. Is that what your computer is? No, your computer can do anything, but you can't let it because your consciousness is addicted to staring at that aspect of this beautiful machine that has memory that can go anywhere, it can do anything. Where do you want to go today? You know where you're going. All right, you're going to some game that you're playing that you want to, whatever it is. The next thing you know, woo! And that's what you've done with your mind. You took this gorgeous, beautiful mind that's capable of, oh my God, look what you're capable of. Your mind was capable of understanding what I just talked about. You have a brilliant mind. It's capable of doing brilliant things. You have the human mind. It's brilliant. It created rocket ships. It built the Large Collider. Oh my God, it split the atom. Pretty brilliant thing, isn't it? And this is what you're doing with it? Staring at the sum of your learned experiences? I wish he'd like me. I don't like when that happened to me when I was little. It never bothered. It bothered me forever. I was like a traumatic experience that I had. I was in love when I was in 5th grade, and he loved me. I've never been the same. Why are you doing that? You're great. You're amazing. Your mind can go anywhere, but you're staring at that. And your consciousness can go anywhere. At least go with an open mind. It's bad enough that you limited yourself to staring at your mind, because you are not your mind, you're the one that's staring at it. But at least let it be expansive. At least let it be open. At least let it have a playpen to play in. Not that it's addicted and focused on this junk. Like, I have a question to ask you. You've had experiences in your life, have you not? Have any of you had bad experiences? Are you glad they're over? Okay, you had bad experiences at various times in your life. Are you glad they're over? Did you keep them inside yourself and they still bother you? Yes or no? Why? They're over. They're not going to happen again. Mommy and Daddy are not going to divorce again. You're 62 years old. Why in the world would you hold that inside of you? It doesn't make sense, does it? And so instead of feeling the ecstasy of your being or the expansiveness of your mind, you're busy contracting and focusing yourself on this garbage that you stored inside that will never happen again, and it's over. There, I yelled at you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is it not true? The entire science of psychology is based on the fact that you're doing that. If you were not doing that, Freud wouldn't come up with the philosophies he came up with. That's what happened. You suppressed all this stuff and held it in there, and now it's affecting your whole life. He was right, wasn't he? But he didn't explain why you're doing that. You don't have to do that. What do you mean I don't have to do that? To hold an event inside of you that is not happening in front of you requires willpower. It doesn't require willpower for it to come in. It comes in. That's what your senses are for. But the fact that it's not coming in anymore, for you to have held on to that experience requires will, and it requires your Shakti and your energy, and you're wasting it. Not only for no good reason, for a terrible reason. You're making yourself a mess. But nobody will tell you that you don't have to do this. And don't tell me it's natural. It is not natural. It's not natural to do something. Go take a knife, start cutting yourself every night. It's natural. It's not. What do I do that for? Then why are you doing that to your mind? Why are you doing that to your soul? Why are you doing that to your consciousness? Here, consciousness, eat that. Eat what makes you most sick. Do you understand? That's why you are not enlightened. You're not enlightened because there's something wrong with you. You're not enlightened because enlightened means not to focus on this tiny little part of your mind. And now at this point, I want to see if you get it. Okay, you understand Universal consciousness, I don't like the word. The natural state of the universe is infinite, eternal consciousness. You give it a name, God. It was here in the beginning, before all else was created. It will be here in the end, after all else falls away. There was never a time it was not. There will never be a time there will not be. I told you, I don't study books and that kind of stuff, but I read little articles on the web from great physicists and different people. And somebody once asked a very brilliant physicist, quantum physicist, before the Big Bang, which they say is what created everything that's here now, right? What was there before the Big Bang? Before 13.8 billion years ago. I've read at least 4 of them say the same thing. There just was infinite, eternal it. It just was always there. It has always been there. And there's no beginning and no end. That's what's there. Oh my God. That's what the yogis found. That's what Brahma is. That's what Nirvikalpa Samadhi is. That you entered the state before creation took place. The great void, the Buddhists call it. The empty. Wow. And then a vibration happened, and the whole universe, as you know it, formed, expanded out, and they're chasing it. That's what they say was there to start with. So you basically have taken that expansive, infinite, eternal thing, which you are, and focused that consciousness down on how small is that garbage going on inside your mind all day? I don't like this. I wish you didn't do this. Oh my God, I'm so concerned. What am I going to do about this? A little tiny place on a little tiny planet. This is why I teach what I teach you. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. Please take a breath. 1.3 million is a big number, isn't it? And you're worried about one spot on the planet? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And the Earth has been here for 4.5 billion years. How long have you been here? How long are you going to be here? What are you doing? You took the pieces that you experienced of the nothing and put them together into this little thing called your self-concept, and you stare at it all day, and you do every single thing for your whole life to try to make the outside world match this little thing you built in there. Isn't that unbelievable that that's what you would do with your consciousness? And by the way, the 1.3 billion Earths inside the sun is one of 300 billion stars in this galaxy. And there are 2 trillion galaxies. And what are you focusing on? No wonder you are neurotic. No wonder you feel lost and tight and anxious and I'm in a cage. Oh my God, you took the greatest consciousness of the whole universe and focused on, I can't even talk about it. It's unbelievable. You're the greatest thing ever walked the face of the earth. But you've limited yourself down to something very small. That thing is so small, I can't even think about it. That thing, I don't care who you are, that thing you're watching is so small, nano isn't good enough. It's a Planck, the scientists. It's a Planck measurement type stuff. And yet, if you let go and stop staring at that, it goes poof, instantaneously. Why? Because you were holding it down on that. It's like a rubber band. If I'm holding a rubber band and I get really stretched out, I want it to go back to not. Well, just let it go. How long does it take? Bam! That's what they tell you about enlightenment. And they tell you about liberation. Bam! Why? Because you cease to concentrate it, it expands back to where it is. So the question becomes, if that's the truth, and it is a truth, and I like that your mind can understand that, can't it? Then your mind can help you. The mind's not evil. The personal mind's a major problem, all right? So what is the path? What is the path to liberation? Stop it. One way or another. That's your business. You're staring at something, and it's making you little, because what you're staring at is tiny. How about we stop staring at it? Well, now the question becomes, it's easier said than done. Well, so is stop drinking. So is stop drugs. A lot of things is hard to do, aren't they? But you're better off doing them, aren't you? If you're busy lost in the drugs, then your life is really small. It's all about the drug. If you're really lost in liquor or alcohol because you can't be okay without it, then your life is about alcohol. Well, your life's about every little thing you're addicted to watching. You have to get out. You have to liberate yourself. Now you understand what liberation means. You free your consciousness. You free your soul from staring at the personal self. All right? Okay. First, now we understand. How do you go about that? Because it's not going to happen just because you want it to. That's like somebody going to AA saying, oh, you're right, I should stop drinking. Okay, I'm done. I bet. What happens is addictions, what is an addiction? Something that draws your consciousness into it, and it's not easy for it not to do that. Are we addicted to ourselves? Are you addicted to your ego? Are you addicted to what you like and don't like? Do you get upset when something you don't like is happening? Do you get excited when something you like is happening? Well, that's just like a drug addict. They get excited when they get their drug, and they get really upset when they don't. So I'm telling you, your consciousness is addicted to the psyche of your ego, and it doesn't get what it wants. That heart hurts, doesn't it? It doesn't get what it wants. The body gets nervous and everything gets tight. It doesn't get what it wants. The mind complains incessantly. And if it gets what it wants, the body relaxes and the heart opens. And the mind says, ooh, nice old things. That's the same as an addiction. That's exactly what's happening. Of course you're caught up in that. You allowed your, by the way, you have just understood, and very few people do, the fall from the garden. If you are the infinite consciousness experiencing such a non-eternal bliss, and you fell down for your consciousness is the same consciousness, is focusing on her thoughts and her emotions and her bodily feelings, that's the fall from the garden. You narrowed, it's called the tree of self-knowledge. And what does it say when you fell from the garden? Now you must work by the sweat of your brow to be okay. Know anything about that? You work by the sweat of your brow to get it the way you want and make sure it isn't the way you want. I don't want you to live like that. I know you're much greater than that, every one of you. But what if I did bad things? You were lost. You were addicted. The minute you're out, you don't have to worry about what it was like when you were in. If you failed math in the third grade and had to do third grade over again, but now you have a master's degree in theoretical mathematics, I don't think you need to worry about having third grade. You used it to learn. So they were so mad at Christ. I forgive your sins. I forgive your sins. If you let go of that garbage that you're holding inside, it's gone. It has no effect on your life. Your karma and the seeds of your karma is the garbage you stored inside your personal self, saying, I did this wrong, I did this right, I hurt this person. Fine. Then it'll affect your entire life. All right. When you're free, they say at the moment of enlightenment, all karmic seeds burn. So you understand the philosophies. Why? Because you let them go. You're holding on to them and saying, I've got bad karma. But let it go. I always teach people when they say I have regrets of things I did and I hurt, right? Shh, doesn't matter. Here's my question. If the same situation happened again, would you do the same thing? You know what they say? Of course not. Of course. Then you learned. Don't you dare let it hold you back. Fair enough? You have the right to learn. That's what you're here for. So that when you were an alcoholic and you did terrible things, and now you're not, you straightened yourself up, you get a little 5-year chip. Don't look back and make it drink again. You understand that? You're a great being. Doesn't matter. So basically, why are we so addicted and how do we get out? And at some point you realize it's the meaning of your life. That's why you're here. Earth is a place where souls were sent to evolve. Earth is a place that souls were sent to evolve. How you doing? Well, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to make it so I don't have to evolve. I'm trying to get what I want so I can stay stuck in my addiction. I want to avoid what I don't want so I never have to feel bad even though I'm addicted. So no, I'm not trying to evolve. I'm trying to be okay unevolved. Doesn't sound nice, but is it the truth? I'm trying to be okay even though I'm not evolved. I'm trying to be able to handle my liquor and not have people give me trouble about it and find that balance. I call it balance. Find that balance and only shooting up once a day instead of 3 times. You know, laugh all you want. People do it with Coke. I was the generation before all that junk was going on. But there's businessmen, I don't know what age it was, but they were doing Coke and saying it makes me better. I'm a better business person. I make good decisions. I'm a better everything. I feel better. I'm sharper. You've heard it. Okay, yeah. And after a little while, what happens? You get addicted and mess up your whole life. Okay, so that's what you're saying about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want. If I get what I want, I'm okay. If I don't get what I want, I'm not okay. So why are we so addicted? Because we're not okay. Why are we not okay? Because we left the state of okayness. Because we buried ourselves down to the personal self, and the body's got all kinds of problems, and the world doesn't behave the way we want. And so, of course, you're not okay. And so, therefore, you've noticed, you're not stupid, that when I get what I want, I'm okay. If I don't get what I want, I'm not. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make people be the way I want. I'm going to control them. You see control freaks going on around here? All right? I'm going to control them and make it all be the way I want and force everyone to be the way I want. People have the most power. They do it more than anything else. I mean, people that don't have power, they wish they did. And everybody's trying to get what they want. And that's why there's wars, and that's why the whole thing's a mess, isn't it? Because we all want different things. We all have different experiences. Okay, so first, now you understand why you're addicted, because it makes you feel better, it makes you feel worse, and of course you want to feel good. But it's just like the alcohol. Yes, it makes you feel better, but you ain't going nowhere. So how do I free myself? Do I have to renounce the world? I'm sorry that notion ever came up, but it's okay. People do lots of things. Of course not. You have to use the world to let go of your addiction. Ultimately, in the world, we're not of it. Ultimately, you're able to deal with situations that used to freak you out, but you learned how to release. You learn, I teach relax and release. Somebody says something, you don't like it, it starts to bother you. You don't have to do that, but it hurts. Of course it hurts. You're used to making things be the way you want and taking it personal. When it's not personal, there's nothing personal. People don't like when I say that. They don't like that at all. None of it is personal. You're sitting on a planet in the middle of nowhere, spinning through black, dark, empty space. It ain't personal. There's just stuff going on. I told you once, if somebody's yelling at you, they're not yelling at you. You just happen to be standing in a place on a planet Earth where somebody's yelling. It's happening. Everybody's a sum of their learned experiences, and they don't know how to deal with themselves. So big deal. But I go to smaller things than that. I always give the same examples. Have you ever been bothered by the driver in front of you? Better yet, have you ever talked to the driver in front of you? Come on, buddy, I'm in a rush. Where are you going 10 miles over the speed limit? Come, what are you doing? You didn't use your blinker. Your blinker's on all the time. How do I know what you're doing? They don't hear you. You're doing that for no reason. How about we take that and stop doing that? How about that spiritual growth? How about I care more that you learn to handle the moments in front of you, like the driver, like the temperature. Oh, whoa, I can't handle the heat, like the rain. That you learn to handle those is as important as meditating for 2 hours. Because if you meditate for 2 hours and you come back and do that, you wasted your time because you didn't evolve. You just had a vacation. You have to be able to handle reality. You're the highest species on the planet. Why can't you handle reality? Because I'm more interested in handling this junk I built inside my mind that said what I want and what I don't want. Do you understand that? I'm not telling you not to meditate. Meditation is a wonderful thing to do. But I'm telling you, you better be doing this. You better be every moment of your life, every day, saying, I can handle that. If I can handle that, I'm sitting on a little planet. That's why I teach what I teach you. I'm sitting on a planet in the middle of nowhere. I can't handle what somebody said. I can't handle an elevator, an extra person got in. Come on, man. Just let go. Instead of changing it, let go of you. Let go of your addiction to yourself. Learn to be more open. Learn to not focus on the stupid little part that you. Why'd you say that about the elevator? My father was really serious about that. He used to get so upset when too many people got in the elevator. Okay, now you can be like that. How about we don't? How? Relax through it. When it comes up, relax. Now you're growing spiritually. That is literally spiritual evolution. The fact that you can now not handle life, handle what your inside did about life. Okay? If you're okay with it, it's okay. Then be okay with it. How? Learn. Practice. Practice being okay. I beg you. Just like you practice the piano, just like you practice tennis, just like you practice anything. If you practice, you get better at it, don't you? Practice being okay. So what happens? What's that about? It means that there's some of your learned experiences, you're not giving energy to it. When it comes up, because daddy did this and mommy did that, and you're able to let it go, it goes. It's always staying in there because you're holding it in there. There's no super glue in there. There's no granite that is carved in. It's your willpower. Now we're getting to why I taught you what I did. You are focusing on it. Well, no, I'm not. I don't think about it because you're pushing it away. I don't ever think about it again. I don't ever think about it. Yes, you are. You're pushing it. You know we never talk about that around your father. Well, then there's something wrong with daddy. Okay? What did daddy do? Daddy pushed it away, and now it'll hit if you say something, and he has to get upset. You don't want that stuff in there. That's why you're addicted, because you stored the stuff that you had the most trouble with. How about we let it go? Win every moment of every day, every second. Well, what if it's too strong for that? Good. That means you're playing tennis and you hit it in the net. Just try again. Just keep working on it. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Some things are big. They're hard to handle now, but you can learn. There were some things that happened before that were hard to handle, weren't they? But they're not happening now. Let those go. When they come up, welcome them. That's how I learned. I used to push it away and try to be, who knows. Then I got to the point, okay, I'll handle it. Then I got to the point, what's wrong with me? I have to welcome this stuff. I don't want that stuff in there. I don't want stuff in there that happened to me 30 years ago or 10 minutes ago. I don't want it in there. So if it comes back up by itself, throw a party. Rejoice. But it hurts. Of course it hurts. Hey, if you go through detox, does it hurt? Right, go on. Be hooked up on some drug. Have them put you through detox. You're going to go through some stuff, aren't you? You're going through detox on you. So of course it hurts. It was stored with pain, it's coming back with pain. You want that pain. That's the pain that ends all pain. So you welcome it. You have a party. You talk to it. I'm so sorry. I swear to God, that's what I got. And that's what really worked. When I got to the point, I looked at it, I said, no, it's not bothering me. I did this. I shoved that thing down in the dark for years. I couldn't handle it. So it's trying to come back up. Be kind to it. Welcome it. Apologize to it. That's a great state. Apologize. I'm so sorry I pushed you down there. You can come up now. I'll take your hand. Help it. The Gita says one should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. It's everything we talked about, all the entire talk. You're in there. But what you're doing in there is using your will to create a mess, right? Use your will to let go. That's what it means, to raise the self from self instead of trampling down the self. When it comes up, welcome it, offer it to God. Do whatever you want. I don't care, but don't push it back down. But what if I'm not ready to let it go? Do your best. Anything you do will let go a little bit. Next time, turn your hand a little bit when you hit the ball. May not go in the net next time. Maybe it will. Okay, fine, do it again. Don't ever quit. And eventually you're going to find out that underneath that garbage that you stored is all the Shakti. But that's not really what's happening. I teach that, but that's not really what's happening. What's happening is because you can handle it, you don't focus on it. It's not distracting your attention. If it doesn't distract your attention, it doesn't distract your attention. Now, all of a sudden, you're not so focused on the garbage, and it evolves up. It doesn't pull you down. What you're feeling when I say the Shakti is behind it is you're feeling yourself liberate yourself and feeling the Shakti of your being, feeling the Satchidananda a little bit, not all at once, because you released. You release staring at the garbage. Now you start to feel who you are. And you just keep doing that all day, every day, under all situations, to the best of your ability. And you help evolution take place. Not I fight it by trying to get what I want and so on. All right? And what will happen is you will find out you're a very great being. And it's not all at once. It's a stairway to heaven, not a leap. I want that every morning you wake up, you're a greater being that woke up the morning before. That's all. That's good enough. My favorite part is not when somebody tells me, oh, I saw Jesus and Buddha holding hands in a vision. Fine. Notice it was past tense. I saw. There's the one that moves me. I went to work today and something happened. I didn't realize until I drove away. That would have bothered me. That would have bothered me just even months ago. I didn't even notice. Now, namaste. You grew. That's not a struggle. That's not fighting. It's not forcing, right? You grew. You handled something that you couldn't have handled before, that other people couldn't handle. That's great. You're going to feel more energy. You start to feel more liberation. And then eventually you'll get inspired. Say, what am I doing? Wasting my life trying to get what I want. It doesn't last for 2 seconds, does it? By the time you got what you wanted, didn't want anything else. I clue you in. You start getting that energy flow. That's what it means to fall in love with God. You start feeling that energy there. You say, whoa, that's nice stuff. And it's free. Okay, I think I'm going to keep doing what gives me more of that. And it doesn't ever stop. It just gets higher and higher and higher and higher until eventually you find a way. You'll find a way. It's not like you find a way to let go. It's that you're not being pulled down. You know what Krishna said? The world has lost its salt. What he means is those things don't pull you down into them. They can still be there. You still have money, you still be married, have children. All those things, they have nothing to do with those things. They have the fact that you're addicted to those things. That's the problem. As you're not, they happen naturally, and you just live your life. But inside, there's ecstasy going on until eventually, because it's so beautiful inside, it's natural to let go. And that's for the great ones. It's very rare that somebody can let go at that level. You understand that? And there are those, Meher Baba was so high that he'd go into these great states. Ramakrishna even, we'll use Ramakrishna. They go into these great states and they would just stay there, but they didn't eat. Their disciples would come down and whisper, oh, you're such a great being. They would whisper in his ear Krishna's name to try and go fishing to find his consciousness and bring it back so that he would eat. Meher Baba, when he would go to sleep, Meher Baba was an avatar. A disciple would have to stand outside his door and periodically look inside to make sure he was wiggling his big toe. It's a true story. He had to wiggle his big toe all night or he wouldn't be there in the morning. He had to have something that tied his consciousness down to this plane. Isn't that beautiful? So that's why their pictures hang on the wall. All right? That's why I told you your mind can help you. Now that you understand better, it's not weird of who you are and what's wrong. Find your way out. Don't come to me and say, well, I was doing a meditation, but now I fell in love with somebody. And I just, around them, I feel so much energy. What should I do? I would never answer a thing like that. Go through what you must go through to learn to free yourself. And it may be business, it may be marriage, it may be children, it may be nothing. I don't know. Your stuff is different than mine. You need to go through what you need to go through. But you need to do your best to let go. You do your best to let go. And my experience is you do your best to let go of yourself, and somehow the world helps you. You end up going through what you need to go through, even though you didn't think you needed to go through it, or even though you really needed to go through it. That's what I say to people, right? If you can let go, let go. If you find out that you're married and you don't know how it happened, it was supposed to happen. And then you go through it. And you just keep letting go and growing and releasing and doing whatever you can to free yourself. Free yourself. It's a beautiful thing, right? So the main point of this talk was, do you see that if your mind understands where you're going, it helps a lot, doesn't it? It helps you understand the path. Jagged.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.